Few people realize this, but poverty rarely begins with a lack of money. It starts much earlier, in the way a man thinks, chooses, and submits. There are silent rules that govern ascension and stagnation. Ignoring them brings no immediate punishment, only a lifetime of effort without real progress. This is not a moral warning, it is a cold observation. Those who do not understand the economic game inevitably remain disposable pieces within it. From an early age, we are trained to confuse effort with value. Working hard seems virtuous, but it is rarely strategic. Power has never belonged to the exhausted, but to the lucid. True wealth is born from a correct reading of human behavior, from anticipating movements and from acting without emotional attachment. Those who merely react work. Those who understand govern. This difference defines entire destinies. There is one rule that separates those who accumulate from those who merely survive. Never surrender control of your time. Time is the only resource that cannot be recovered, renegotiated, or multiplied. When you sell it cheaply, you teach the world how much your presence is worth. Poor men defend small amounts. Wealthy men protect hours. This choice, repeated daily, builds fortunes or imprisons lives. Dependence is the fertile soil of poverty. Those who need too much lose the right to negotiate. Machiavelli understood this clearly. To depend is to kneel without realizing it. Anyone who fails to develop financial, emotional, and intellectual autonomy ends up serving the interests of others while believing they are being useful. Utility without power is merely exploitation disguised as opportunity. Another common mistake is believing that loyalty guarantees prosperity. The world respects results, not intentions. Being faithful to systems that do not reward you is an elegant form of self-sabotage. Wealth is not attached to feelings, but to efficiency. Remaining where there is no growth out of fear of appearing ungrateful is trading freedom for an illusion of comfort. Over time, that price becomes unbearable. There is also the illusion of security. Many accept low limits because they seem stable, yet stability without expansion is simply slow decay. Those who seek wealth must tolerate calculated uncertainty. Constant fear of loss prevents any meaningful gain. Poverty stays alive when a man chooses predictability over potential. Nothing great is born from an excessive need for control. Few admit it, but money obeys hierarchy. It flows to those who make decisions, not to those who wait for orders. Remaining forever in execution and never in strategy condemns a person to eternal repetition. The mind that never learns to command will continue to serve, even if it works with dignity. Wealth demands conscious risk and total responsibility for one's own choices. Machiavelli taught that power is not requested, it is built. The same applies to prosperity. Waiting for recognition, promotion, or financial justice is handing one's fate over to chance. Those who wish to accumulate must learn to position themselves, not to beg. The world rewards those who assert themselves with clarity and real utility, not those who hope to be noticed through silent effort. Another ignored principle is emotional mastery. Financial decisions made under anxiety, comparison, or vanity almost always lead to loss. Wealth demands coldness, patience, and calculation. Those who spend to appear powerful prove exactly the opposite. True economic power is invisible, silent, and disciplined. It grows far from applause and strengthens through consistency, not ostentation. Finally, there is the most neglected rule: learning to play long games. Poverty thrives on haste. Wealth responds to extended vision. Those who chase immediate gains sacrifice durable structures. Building wealth requires enduring phases of invisibility, repetitive discipline, and unpopular choices. The man who understands this stops chasing money. He creates systems where money becomes a consequence. Poverty perpetuates itself when a man outsources responsibility for his own destiny. Blaming governments, crises, or bad luck offers momentary relief, but destroys any possibility of real power. Those who transfer blame also transfer control. Wealth begins when the individual accepts that silent daily choices shape the future more than any external force ever could. There is a brutal difference between earning money and building wealth. Earning is episodic, building is strategic. Many celebrate temporary income while ignoring durable structures. Money respects those who think in decades, not months. Those who live only on immediate results remain vulnerable, always hostage to the next cycle, the next opportunity, the next inevitable crisis. Another fatal mistake is confusing information with wisdom. Knowledge accumulated without practical application merely inflates the ego. Poor men know many things, but execute little. Prosperous men choose a few principles and follow them with almost ruthless rigor. Silent discipline is worth more than hundreds of ideas never tested. Knowing too much and acting too little is a sophisticated form of stagnation. Wealth demands conscious renunciation. Those who want everything at once end up building nothing solid. Every true choice requires giving up something comfortable. Many fail because they cannot surrender immediate pleasures in exchange for future freedom. Money approaches those who accept sacrifice before reward, not those who demand pleasure in advance as a condition for action. Few understand that environment shapes decisions more than willpower. Remaining surrounded by limited mindsets contaminates any ambition. Machiavelli already observed that men absorb the values of the circles they frequent. Those who seek prosperity must coldly select where they invest attention, conversation, and coexistence. Wrong environments sabotage even the best intentions. There is also the danger of false humility. Diminishing oneself to be accepted is a silent pact with mediocrity. The world does not reward those who hide, but those who position themselves clearly. This is not arrogance. It is precision. Knowing one's value and defending it with calm firmness creates respect. Those who do not position themselves will always be defined by others' interests. Poverty thrives where there is fear of conflict. Avoiding confrontation seems civilized, but it is often cowardice disguised. Poor negotiation, accepting less than deserved, and remaining silent in the face of financial injustice create fragile trajectories. Growth demands difficult conversations, uncomfortable decisions, and strategic ruptures. Those who flee friction unknowingly choose to remain small. Another ignored principle is control over one's own narrative. Those who allow others to define their story lose symbolic power. How you are perceived influences opportunities, negotiations, and alliances. This is not empty appearance, but coherence between speech and action. The man who masters his narrative guides expectations. The one who ignores it lives reacting to external judgments. Wealth also requires aggressive patience, not passivity but strategic resistance. Many abandon projects at the exact moment they would begin generating real returns. The absence of immediate results tests character. Persisting without applause separates builders from dreamers. Time rewards those who sustain direction, not those who change course at every discomfort. Finally, to understand wealth is to understand power. Money is only one of its manifestations. Power is choice, maneuverability, and autonomy. Those who ignore this truth chase numbers without ever achieving freedom. Machiavelli saw this clearly. Accumulating resources without expanding control is illusion. True prosperity reveals itself when money works, protects, and obeys, never the opposite. One of the greatest mistakes is believing that wealth is born solely from accumulation. In truth, it arises from correct subtraction. Eliminating unproductive habits, empty commitments, and constant distractions creates space for strategic decisions. The man who does not know how to remove excess remains too busy to grow. Poverty settles where everything seems important except what truly builds lasting power. There is also the trap of social recognition. Many shape their choices to appear successful in the eyes of others, sacrificing real results. Public approval rarely walks alongside silent construction. Those who depend on applause adjust their path to please, not to win. Wealth requires the courage to look slow, strange, or even failed before becoming undeniable. Another neglected factor is the inability to wait. The impatient mind demands constant proof of progress. Yet the greatest advances happen far from immediate perception. Systems mature in invisibility. Those who abandon too early reveal not a lack of talent, but a lack of strategic maturity. Poverty persists when absence of quick return is mistaken for absence of future. Few understand that every financial decision carries a decision of identity. What you accept today defines the role you will occupy tomorrow. Small concessions, repeated, shape entire destinies. The man who consistently accepts less than his value teaches the world to treat him that way. Wealth begins when identity precedes money, not when it tries to follow it. There is also the mistake of confusing movement with progress. Being constantly busy creates the illusion of advancement, but activity without direction merely consumes energy. The prosperous man knows how to stop, observe, and correct course. He understands that accelerating in the wrong direction only hastens failure. Poverty persists when effort replaces strategy. Wealth demands tolerance for silence. Not all growth produces immediate external signals. Many give up because no one notices their internal changes. Machiavelli understood that real power matures far from public eyes. Those who need to be seen to continue reveal fragility. The man who endures silence builds foundations. The one who seeks validation builds only appearance. Another critical point is the inability to say no. Accepting everything dilutes focus, energy, and identity. Every improper yes is a no to one's long-term project. The man who does not establish limits becomes too accessible, too predictable, too exploitable. Wealth respects those who protect their boundaries with calm firmness, not those who scatter themselves to please everyone. Many remain poor because they treat major decisions with the same attention as minor ones. Structural choices demand deep analysis, not emotional impulse. Marriage, partnerships, career, and lifestyle shape decades. Handling these pillars carelessly condemns the future to constant improvisation. Wealth demands precision, where most act out of momentary convenience. There is also the fear of assuming total responsibility. As long as a man believes there is always an external culprit, he exempts himself from correcting his own path. Responsibility is not guilt, it is power. Those who recognize their role in their own errors reclaim the right to change. Poverty strengthens where no one feels responsible for anything. Finally, to understand wealth is to accept that it demands posture before reward. There are no stable shortcuts. Every ignored principle returns as a future limitation. The man who seeks prosperity must align thought, decision, and action under one direction. When this happens, money ceases to be a distant objective and becomes a predictable consequence of internal control. There is a silent rule few accept. Wealth requires emotional distance from one's own decisions. When ego enters negotiation, logic leaves. Defending wrong choices out of pride is costly. The prosperous man revises course without attachment to his image. The one who remains poor protects error as if it were identity. Strategic humility outweighs hollow consistency. Another recurring mistake is confusing comfort with victory. Feeling comfortable does not mean advancing, only that resistance has ceased. True progress carries tension, doubt, and prolonged discomfort. Those who seek wealth learn to coexist with this state without fleeing. Poverty stabilizes when a man chooses immediate tranquility over demanding growth. Few realize that all income depends on perceived utility. The world pays in proportion to the problem you solve, not the effort you exert. Working hard on something irrelevant keeps one busy, not prosperous. Wealth approaches those who increase impact, not those who accumulate tasks. Producing strategic value always surpasses producing visible effort. There is also the dangerous habit of justifying personal limits as moral virtues. Calling fear prudence or comfort humility is an elegant form of surrender. The man who seeks prosperity must have the courage to face himself without masks. While he rationalizes his limitations, he strengthens them. Truth hurts but liberates. Illusion comforts but imprisons. Machiavelli understood that power is born from clarity about human nature. Ignoring this is costly naivete. People act out of interest, not discourse. Those who build wealth learn to read intentions, not words. Blind trust in promises is handing resources to colder minds. Prosperity demands social lucidity, not naive faith. Another ignored principle is position. Where you place yourself defines how you will be treated. Consistently accepting the smallest space teaches the world to offer only that. Wealth approaches those who occupy strategic positions, even when it creates initial discomfort. Remaining invisible out of fear of judgment keeps a man safe, yet economically irrelevant. There is also the trap of constant comparison. Measuring progress by others' lives generates anxiety and poor decisions. Each trajectory obeys different rhythms and contexts. The prosperous man compares only with his own past results. Poverty feeds on the haste created by silent envy. Those who look outward too much lose precision over their own path. Few understand that wealth requires internal control before external control. Those who cannot govern impulses cannot govern resources. Emotional spending, rushed decisions, and exaggerated reactions erode any advance. Self-mastery is the invisible foundation of prosperity. Without it, any gain becomes temporary. Money does not stay where the mind is unstable. Another fatal error is treating learning as an event rather than a continuous process. The world changes, markets change, rules change. Those who stop learning become obsolete slowly. Wealth remains where adaptation persists. The man who believes he already knows enough begins at that exact moment to lose advantage without realizing it. At this point, the pattern becomes clear. Poverty is not an accident, it is repeated consequence. Ignoring invisible rules produces predictable results. Those who understand this stop complaining and start adjusting. The game does not change out of compassion, only through strategy. Understanding these truths does not guarantee immediate wealth, but it prevents conscious permanence in scarcity. There comes a decisive moment when a man must choose between continuing to explain his condition or beginning to transform it. Explanations bring comfort, but they change nothing. Wealth begins when justification gives way to conscious action. Those who remain poor are often eloquent in explaining their limits, yet reluctant to dismantle them. Destiny rarely changes for those who only know how to describe it. Another ignored point is that prosperity demands moral consistency with oneself. This is not about public ethics, but inner integrity. Breaking promises made to oneself weakens any long-term project. The man who does not respect himself in silence cannot sustain discipline when no one is watching. Poverty strengthens when personal word loses value before one's own mirror. Few accept that growth requires losing old versions of oneself. Certain identities must die for stronger ones to emerge. Clinging to the past out of nostalgia or fear keeps a man tied to old results. Wealth demands psychological detachment. Those who do not abandon obsolete habits, beliefs, and roles carry unnecessary weight in an ascent that is already difficult by nature. There is also resistance to thinking in terms of power. Many treat money as an end when it is merely an instrument. Power is choice, margin for error, and freedom to refuse. Those who ignore this chase, numbers without expanding control. Machiavelli saw clearly that resources without real power are fragile. True prosperity protects decisions before financing desires. Poverty persists where there is fear of assuming authority over one's own life. Deciding requires accepting risks and consequences. Many prefer to obey, follow ready-made scripts, and blame structures. This brings emotional relief, but eliminates autonomy. Wealth is born when a man accepts being the author of his own trajectory, knowing he cannot transfer blame for future mistakes. At this stage, it becomes evident that the rules are not complex, only uncomfortable. They demand discipline, clarity, and continuous renunciation. Most fail not due to incapacity, but because they refuse to sustain these demands over the long term. Prosperity is simple to understand, difficult to maintain. Poverty settles when initial effort does not turn into lasting commitment. Those who ignore these truths will remain busy, tired, and frustrated without understanding why. They will work more, earn less, and call it destiny. Those who accept them slowly shift the axis of their lives. There is no sudden transformation, only constant correction. True wealth grows like deep roots, invisible at first, unshakable over time. This is not an invitation to greed, but to lucidity. Remaining poor is not a moral sentence, but a strategic consequence. By understanding this, a man stops seeing himself as a victim and begins to see himself as an agent. From this point on, every choice carries real weight. Ignoring the rules keeps everything the same. Respecting them changes the game silently. Now you see that wealth is not luck, and poverty is not accident. Both follow principles. The difference lies in who ignores them and who applies them without needing approval. This knowledge does not promise ease, only direction. And direction, when sustained, surpasses scattered talent. The man who understands this does not wait for motivation. He acts from clarity. If these ideas revealed something you already felt, but had never organized into words, write in the comments which rule most challenged your way of thinking. Like this video to strengthen this message, follow the channel to continue deepening this kind of knowledge, and activate the notification bell so you do not miss the next teachings. The first step out of poverty is not ignoring what has now become clear.